This video is all about how to make your geared potpourri box. You'll notice that it's got a fun little lid here, sides. We've also got a ring around the top here, as well as a fun little bottom. So let me open the bag and take a look at what's inside and help you figure out where the pieces are going to go as you put your box together. Now you've got a screw set for this that we're just going to put aside inside it. And then we've got several pieces. The one with 3 holes in it is the top. You're going to want to make sure you sand the top surface of this so that the gears go on it nicely when you prepare it. And then we've got the bottom. So if you want to decorate the bottom, you can do that as you put it together. And we've got 8 little sides for you. You should have 4 of them that have outs on them, and you should have 4 of them that have ins on them. And they're going to get put on the sides like so. And go into place like that. And then you've got a big piece that's the top, and this ring is going to go around the top layer to give you a lip around your box. We've also got in here 3 stars. They're not super fragile, but be gentle when you sand them so that they don't break. These are what we call 5th order elliptical gears. And the reason they're 5th order is because they're 5-sided. And if you were using a single order elliptical, it would go from one side to the other, or from one middle to the other around those points, and gives you 5 points that the gears sped up as they went around the edges. So 5th order elliptical gears are going to go on your top of your box like this. And then once you've put it together, you'll be all set, and you'll also have a fun thing to play with on the top of your potpourri box while you're enjoying the good smells. So go sand and decorate and make them awesome. I really want to see the pictures when you get them all built. Now that you've done all your decorating on your potpourri box, let's go ahead and put it together. In your hardware box, you will find feet and 11 3/8" screws and 11 3/8" nuts. And I'm going to start and assemble my top first, just because I like playing with gears the best. I'm going to do that first. So let's start with our gears and get our gears on. Start with one gear, and you'll notice you've got kind of a triangle here. So the one that's really exactly in the middle is going to be a little off center from the other two. So I'm going to take that one, put my gear on, put it through, and I've made these screwable. So you're going to screw these in. That'll give you a little bit of room to test them and play with them before you commit to putting the nuts on, and you aren't going to lose them when you flip them over. Now the way elliptical gears go on is the center point, the place that it would spin fastest, aims to the side of the other one. So I'm taking the center of that side of the star, point of the star, and aiming it at the middle here. Putting the screw in, just a couple of twists to make sure it still spins okay before I twist it the rest of the way down. And as always, don't make it too tight. If you're going to turn it tight to where it doesn't want to spin anymore, then at least back it up and make sure once you've done that you're good and you can still spin. The name of the game on all of this is loose, loose, loose. And now I'm going to do that same thing with this other gear on this other point. Drop that in. If I can do it without losing the screw. Again, just a couple of twists, make sure it's still spinning nicely. And then screw that in. And that's all going to be really fun and really easy to spin. Once you're happy with that, we can glue those nuts down. I will use Gorilla Glue if you want to have some flexibility on removing them. and being able to reuse the screws. You can always use a thread locker, but we like how easy super glue is on this stuff. But especially with this kind of stuff where if the glue runs through, you're in trouble. Make sure once you put your nuts on that you flip it back over so gravity doesn't help the glue and gravity is on your side, and test it every minute or so to make sure the glue hasn't done something it shouldn't have done. And I'm going to set this up here on my spare circle so I don't get glue on my tablecloth. And now I'm ready to put my box together. So I'm going to separate them out so I have the ones that have big outside, big outers, and from the ones that have the little in cuts here. And you're just going to start with one side, whichever side that is, and we're going to put a glue and a screw and a nut in that side. Now the way I typically do these, actually, yeah, this is an in. I'd recommend starting with an in, but it doesn't really matter, is I typically just put and hold a nut in place. I put a dot of glue on the ends of the threads of my screw, and I pick it up and slide it through and screw it in. And once you have the first one in, then you're ready to continue your way around. So I've got an inbound cut here, so I'm going to do ones that are out next. Take that out, and it should just sit perfectly next to the in that I started with, and we'll repeat that process all the way around for all 8 of these screws and nuts. Here's the second one going in now. By the way, I heard a really cool suggestion to use a cookie sheet or something else to build your projects on so you don't end up having nuts run away with you. I'm going to use an in on this one. So there's my in. Those are 2 aligned very nicely. That's the third one. And the reason we're putting the top in is by adding this top, it gives some strength all the way around to the whole thing. If I just line them up side by side, then we definitely have to glue all those top pieces and all those sides together. It would be a real pain. By doing it this way, we're going to use the top to hold the box together and glue it all together nicely. Now, the other thing you could do when you do this assembly is you could be putting glue on each piece as you do it. I will probably run a bead of glue around the inside to hold it all together once I'm done with it. But as always, there are oh so many ways to do this. And since there's not going to be any pressure on this box, I'm not too worried about gluing the bottom layer in. These screws will be strong enough to hold them in place without too much trouble. If you were going to be putting lots of stuff in it and putting lots of weight in it, then of course it's a box you're going to pay more attention to and want to glue together more solidly. But because all I'm going to put in this is a bag of potpourri, I'm not too worried about the strength of the pieces themselves. When I built my first sample, I glued each piece in as I went around. But just this time, I'm just going to glue the nuts in and then put a ring of glue around the inside. That's 5. 3 more to go. Here's my third one. It's oh so starry and festive. Please do send us pictures if you put one together, and please do enjoy the scents. let us know what you think of this project. It's something different than anything we've done before, so we thought it would be a lot of fun. This one wants my last in. Put my last in on it and snap them together. I guess the words I was looking for were tabs and notches, but innies and outies sound so much more fun than tabs and notches. Done also tightly into place, and then the last one is always a little harder to adjust, but that one's not feeling too bad this time. One more screw and one more knot. I'm going to flip it over here and put my feet on it while I'm working on the bottom. Put a drop of glue in each of those circles and put my 4 feet on. Make sure they don't get into the screws. That'll protect your tables from the screw heads. That's the goal of the feet on these. Definitely want to make sure we do that. And now I'm ready to flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and run my bead of glue around the inside, at least on these little corners. That will give me just a little bit more protection to hold the whole thing together and make sure that no children, dog, or other things separate them. Make sure the kitty cats, when they play with them, don't break them. So I just ran a little bead of glue around the inside. That'll dry in a few minutes. And then I'm going to put a bead of glue all the way across the top on these little pieces right here. All the way around. Make sure that pair is fastened together right. And putting the lid on will help that set. That's not angled perfectly straight. This is why we've added this top ring. And again, here's another one that's not angled as the way I'd want it to be. So I'm going to push that in. And then I can just take the top and go around. And as I go around, it'll help leverage all of those pieces that weren't quite where I wanted them to be into place. So I snap the lid on. If I need to, I can hold it for a second, and then that gets my walls to do what I want them to do. And we do want to make sure when you do that, that things like this one get actually glued down, because you're going to need to make sure it's the right size and there aren't anything sticking out for the lid to sit on it. So now you've got a box. You can just take your potpourri bag and set it inside it. And then we have one more step in this project. It's just to glue our ring on the bottom of the lid. So this is going to glue on like so. Please do let this layer dry before you set it on your box, and your box dry before you set this on, or you will end up gluing the lid on the box and you'll never be able to replace your potpourri. And I'm sure you will want to do that. So I'm just going to set this on, align the spacing. Make sure the edges are aligned so it looks pretty. all the way around. This is why we tend to decorate all of the pieces inside and out, because even if you get it aligned perfectly, you might see some of that. Or maybe you decorated the sides of your pieces so that they all matched up. Or maybe you're going to do that now. And then once it's all had a chance to dry, you'll just set your box top on top of your box, and that'll help pop the pieces into place as well and hold them. And there you go. A very pretty little potpourri box for your holiday season.